I've never tried to hide my light. I was so exuberant and so happy and so delighted to see every single person that I ran across, like, because I'm a lover
Mhm.
and I identified as that. And I wanted to hear everybody's story and maybe have sex with them and make friends, bring them over for Thanksgiving. I mean, that's just the way I am. And this isolation since the pandemic, but even before that, I moved to Colorado from Austin in 97 and went into Boulder. I had tons of friends. I've always had tons of friends everywhere I go. Obviously, if I'm inviting strangers over for Thanksgiving dinner, and like just happy to be with people.
Hi, friends. This is James and Cara, and we are Kerouacs Cruising.
We are taking you on a journey, traveling the country with our dogs and finding remote places where the dog
And us
can roam free and play while we discuss life's growths, beauty, and some struggles along the way.
We recommend pairing our episodes with our blog at kerouacscruising.com, where we organize accurate information in an easy-to-follow format, removing all of the conversational goodies.
The link for this episode's blog post is in the show notes.
We encourage you to join the conversation by commenting where you listen, engaging with us on Facebook or Instagram at Kerouacs Cruising, or email us at join@kerouacscruising.com.
In the meantime, thanks for tuning in. Sit back and enjoy the journey.
Good morning, friends.
Thanks for joining Kerouacs Cruising. Today we have a guest, Jade.
She's one of the authors with us in the Together We Rise book, and she just got such an inspiring, incredible story, and we're so excited to sit down with her. So, Jade, please give us a quick little bit about yourself, and then we'll just keep the conversation going. We had to hurry up and hit record because this conversation was already getting so good.
Okay, yeah, it's Jade Beaty, and it's spelled Beaty with one T. Names were such a crazy thing in my family system. We always had nicknames, and I was supposed to have been a boy, so my dad was Don Draper Beatty, and they named me Don D. And I didn't know that I was somebody else until 3rd grade or something when we were supposed to look at our birth certificates, right? And I'm like so pissed. Like, how could I have a name I don't even know? Why didn't you people tell me?
That's so
And
funny.
it was Janice, like Joplin.
Oh,
And
wow.
that was kind of cool in the 60s, But I changed it many years ago and used Jade as a pen name, and then I made it legal in Missoula, Montana.
Wow.
And me better. Yeah.
So weird. I
So
had a similar thing. My parents didn't. My name is James, and my whole life they called me Jamie.
yeah.
And I always thought my name was Jamie until like 5th grade. So weird.
Mhm. You'd think they'd tell us something as basic as what our names are. Yeah. My parents were a mess. I think a lot of post World War II parents were really checked out, really, really checked out.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, as I was saying, I really enjoyed the process of the writing with a group. Parts of it were terrifying, especially the public facing part.
Yeah.
And everybody was like amping up all this excitement, and I was going down. I was like,
Mhm.
I'm not excited about this. I'm terrified about it. I wish I had a therapist right now, like, wow, this is hard because I was writing about really intimate
Yeah.
memories and experiences and the results of what's now being called complex trauma,
Mhm.
um, or complex PTSD. So yeah, it was a lot, and by the time it launched, my adrenals burned out decades ago. Okay. I couldn't work up all the excitement around it. So I was just kind of nonchalant. I still haven't posted my profile on Amazon, and
It's on.
Cheyenne got after
Mhm.
me about
So it
that.
might be on her end.
So I'm just getting back to some enthusiasm.
No.
I had zero feedback of my story from anybody except, people in the group.
That's tough to get that raw, and I just, yeah.
Now, is the book the first time you've told your story for like family members? So it would be the first time they read it?
Probably because, I had a chapter in a book about, womb twins and the loss of a twin, out of utero when you're still in the uterus with the twin,
Yeah,
right? Or
yeah.
multiple. And I related to every marker for that. And I believe I had a male twin with me that, I probably cannibalized or my mother did.
Mhm.
That's the way it works. It's like the stronger twin sort of overshadows the, weaker twin, and he was smart not to come in because he would have had all that imprint of firstborn son that they couldn't really do to me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, they tried. So, I'm fascinated with birth order and things like that. In my healing practice, I have a pretty extensive intake questionnaire that asks about a lot of different things in family system and, sexuality.
Mhm.
So
That's really interesting. The modality of work that you do, I feel like it's bold to be able to step into that space, but it's so necessary because I think we talked about it in our introductory call essentially, how our creativity literally stems from our sexual power, and that is the root of our most powerful self. And
Yep.
it's something I've always been fascinated with, but I'm not even bold enough to step into it for my own space. Nonetheless, to be a teacher of it is just really, to hold that kind of space for people, I think is amazing.
Mhm.
Mm.
Thank you. It's, a very specific kind of knowledge and intuition that mixes, like, I don't know, I think partially because of my early wounding, which I write about in our book, um, I had a very innocent experience, my first sexual experience, and it was related to being nurtured in a way because I was a hungry baby.
Mhm.
So somebody put a penis in my mouth, and the imprint was, I think, 2 things. Well, of course, connecting food to sex
Mhm.
or, a core expression in a way, and the juice and joy of life.
Mhm.
And I'm a foodie,
Yeah.
And then also, that somehow, even as an infant, and I'm sure this wasn't a conscious figuring out thing as an infant, but I decided at some level that I was here to serve men's sexual needs. And the interesting part is there was very little shame or self blame in me
Mhm.
for acting that out. And I was just jubilantly sexual and curious and fascinated and always wanting to learn more, especially about men,
Mhm.
because that was my object of desire.
Yeah.
It is my object of desire, I should say. I mean, I say I'm gender fluid and I have been seduced by women, but it's never occurred to me to seduce a woman.
Mhm.
And I've had lots of interplay with threesomes and orgies and that kind of thing.
Mhm.
Like I got to Austin in the 70s. I was coming out of the Texas Panhandle. I was in a small farming community, 478 people in 1960. And it was 3 churches: Baptist, Church Christ, and Methodist.
Mhm.
And it was very locked down. White supremacy reigned.
Mm.
It's possible my grandfather was in the Klan. We'll never know. My daddy certainly loved the Confederate War and was a bad racist towards black folk.
Mhm.
And I don't know, just that was abhorrent to me and it scared me. And I just left as fast as I could and got to Austin, which was
Yeah.
like so different than the Panhandle, and there were trees and water, and, it was that little glimmer of time after the pill and before AIDS,
Mm.
and I took full advantage of that, like, it's not like women were ever given permission to be liberated sexually, because what would that look like? That would be terrifying. But at least we were allowed to behave like men sexually
Yeah.
for that period of time. The consequences were you get pregnant, you get an abortion. There's plenty of birth control available. People were seeking sexual pleasure and experiences outside the norm because they'd never had any kind of opportunity for that except in a shameful, repressed way.
Mhm.
Yeah, so Austin had bathhouses, big hot tubs. They hold 14, and I knew better than to get in those hot tubs, but I'd accompany men couldn't come in unless they were with a woman, so I would accompany my lawyer wanted to go. I'm like, "Okay, let's go, but I'm not putting a toe in the hot tub, okay? I'll sit quiet." So who knows? Maybe I dodged the bullet of AIDS. You don't know,
Yeah.
but you're as careful as you can be. I had a lot of fun. I mean, when I think back about the 70s, there was a lot of upset because I got caught and misdiagnosed schizophrenic, and that was a bummer. But I mostly just really enjoyed being in my 20s, being in a place that welcomed oddity and, keep Austin weird, all of that stuff, and, it was the perfect place for me. It really was. I wanna learn more about your platform because I'm done with Zoom, I'll tell you. My god, that was just the worst experience with technology I can remember
Well, I
because I was
wonder
so
if
excited.
because when you consider, like, especially when you consider, like, the topic of the book that we're a part of, um,
Yes.
so the spirituality side of what happened, you unfortunately you were supposed to be on the panel the same day that we were, for the summit, and, you were unable to make it because Zoom just would not allow you, but you had mentioned before we jumped on this call that you were, like, adrenally shot. You were so stressed at sharing this intimate story. I wonder if, like, even though you really wanted to be there consciously, maybe it was something you couldn't handle. You know what I mean? Like, maybe it would have been over the top, and so technology I mean, who knows? Who knows why it
Oh,
happened, but everything happens for a reason.
I agree, and I took that in, like, "Okay, this isn't the right time or place somehow."
Yeah.
And Facebook is probably where I have my most social media exposure. I've been on it since 2003. It's like my old high school crowd is somehow wired in, and
Yeah.
my daughter's friends and all of that. But I have to give up the idea of privacy. We all do.
Mm.
There's no such thing.
Yeah.
And there's no
Absolutely.
such thing as security either,
Yeah.
as my Helen Keller quote tells us.
Yeah.
So it's okay, God, I'm old. I don't care if somebody comes and wants to do me in at my front door, like I got by with not having my residence address posted online until just last year.
Mhm.
Wow.
And then it showed up and now it's impossible to get it off, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so
Y'all got
Yeah.
the right idea, keep moving around. If I didn't have this old cat, I might be doing it because,
No, it's a
maybe
totally different, aspect of off the grid, isn't it? Trying to keep your like, because we have a very strong online presence, essentially, because that's our business. But yeah, that's I guess a completely different aspect of it in 2025, remaining as anonymous as possible.
yeah, and we're not. I mean,
Yeah.
I've never tried to hide my light or well, I do have to sometimes. That's what got me in trouble really, in my 20s was I was so exuberant and so happy and so delighted to see every single person that I ran across, right? Like, because I'm a lover
Mhm.
and I identified as that, and I wanted to hear everybody's story and maybe have sex with them and make friends, bring them over for Thanksgiving. I mean, that's just the way I am. And this isolation since the pandemic, but even before that, I moved to Montana in 2016, and you don't really make friends in Montana. First question they ask is how many generations your family's lived there.
Yeah. Yeah.
How about Colorado? You making a lot of friends there?
I moved to Colorado from Austin in '97 and went into Boulder. My daughter was finishing her master's degree at Naropa University, and we've talked a little bit about Naropa. And I had tons of friends. I've always had tons of friends everywhere I go. Obviously, if I'm inviting strangers over for Thanksgiving dinner, and like just happy to be with people. I went into college at the age of 59, which was a really stupid thing to do. Looking back, you know how that goes. But I'd been homeless for 2 years trying to make it in Boulder County. And I was just so exhausted. I was still doing events with my work and seeing clients in not the best places. Like, I shared a office with a psychotherapist and could see folks, but I didn't want to drag my massage table around. I couldn't do the kind of work I do when I'm stable
Mhm.
and or did. And so I had some options and I was looking at student loans and I thought, wow, that could get me into a place. So I went to Naropa and they had incredibly helpful people there. And I started in the fall of 2011. My intention was to just hang out with young people. But my God, they actually are quite academic, and I'd never really done college, junior college, but as soon as I'd hit something that was math, I'd go, "I'm done, I don't need this."
Second that motion.
So, yeah, I, hung out at Naropa and got into a place just a few weeks before I started in Longmont, which is, like, about a 20-minute drive, and, it was wonderful. I loved it. It was hard. I think Rinpoche set it up to be a pressure cooker because you can't really be there without your shadow just slamming into your face. If
Mhm.
you're meditating and you're studying Tibetan Buddhism or martial arts or whatever, you gotta do your work. And people came there to do their work and hopefully become a spiritual guru too. I mean, there was a lot of that. And it was just a magical place, and it's like no other place.
Mhm.
No other educational institution is like Naropa. Um, and sadly, they just sold their main campus in Boulder, and they're going to build condos for CU, which
Oh
is like
no.
Rinpoche. If he had a grave, he was cremated. He would be spinning in it.
Oh, no.
Oh, man. Anyway, if I had a guru, it's him. Crazy wisdom.
Yeah,
Love it.
that's amazing.
It sounds like you live life for sure
Yeah,
and
to the
continue to
fullest.
do so.
I've lived a different life. I didn't really want to be a wife and mother, but I got pregnant at 17 and married, and that marriage lasted 5.5 years. I've got an amazing daughter who's 55, and we're only 17 years apart. It's great, and I've got grandchildren who are in their 20s, and I never regretted any of it. Like, I loved being pregnant. I loved labor and delivery. Even though the circumstances weren't the best, it felt so embodied and so powerful and like, this is what I'm meant to do. 20-year-old hormones or teen hormones. And I got a great kid out of it, an amazing blessing that I probably wouldn't have ever done if it hadn't been an accident.
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause I did have the agenda of adventure and exploration and not getting trapped in suburbia, or a kitchen
Yeah.
as big women's liber, from an early age, really. All about freedom. And so it was good that I mean, you look back, it's like it's all good. It all got me somewhere else. And I had a 4-year-old Appaloosa stallion when I was 17.
Oh,
And
nice.
my plan was to breed Appaloosas and have a horse facility. That was what I was gonna do. And then, one of those curves where you go, oh no, we're going this way. Um, Other kind of breeding operation, right? So, but I'm still a horsewoman. Haven't owned one since. I had a small herd, 2 mares and the stallion, and um, yeah, a lot of loss and pain around horses and
Yeah.
craziness in my family system. But my daughter has a horse, which is so cool, a mare. So, being patient to see how things evolve is not my style. Like I'm always pushing. I don't have patience really in my life. I want to hurry up and do all of it.
I feel that. I feel that. It's amazing. I actually just listened to a podcast yesterday, and I've been chewing on it since. Um, how sometimes we feel like we're not getting enough done, right? We're like, because we want to do it all right now, yesterday. And then when you take the time, step back and look back, you realize you really accomplished a lot. It just wasn't all of the things that you had on your list, but you wouldn't take back all of the things that you did do. So it's amazing what life throws at us and what we do make happen, even if they're not the things that are in the forefront of our mind. We're accomplishing so much all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's about the frames you put around things too. Like I am a non-materialist. I hate consumerism, capitalism. It sucks. It's really what's taken America down is that crazy like
Need to have everything new and fresh and the most of everything and the best of
yeah,
everything. It's crazy.
and installed obsolescence. I absolutely hate that.
It's
That, things are built so that they'll wear out fast or break, so people have to go buy another one. That's so wasteful. It's how we got these landfills and all this
yeah.
mess with plastic, and boy, I can get
Everybody's
going.
so stressed out about money, but they have to buy the newest technology all the time. Like it's why are you blowing your money on these things? Yeah, no, I feel you. We live in a camper traveling the country. We're in the same boat.
Yeah, we minimalist. And it's crazy. I listened and it was talking about India, right? And they were saying how then people are actually happier than the Western world just because they just embrace themselves being happy.
Oh, wait, the book we're listening
Yeah.
to. Oh, yeah, we're reading The Energy Codes listening to The Energy Codes by Sue Mortner. It we're not even through part 1 yet, and it's pretty
It's crazy.
it's a good book.
And a
I
lot of
recommend it.
think about the Native Americans. They lived here for centuries and only just wanted food and water
Shelter.
and just self-sustained, and they lived happy here until we came here and destroyed it.
Good old white man. I mean, that's it.
Colonialism.
I have a theory about it's actually tied into climate that we all learned about Attila the Hun coming out from the northern parts, and plundering and pillaging, and the whole colonialism thing happened because if you go south of the equator, people can pick fruit year round. There's not an agenda with the weather, like, okay, we're up here in the cold north, we got to stockpile food. And if we are going to starve, we're going to have to go get our neighbor's food
Mhm.
because we're in survival, right? All of us are trying to survive.
Yeah.
And so I think somehow there was this lack of preparation for colonialism on the part of the people that were colonized because they were so not wired into that territorialism.
Yeah.
And it's run by testosterone, I'm pretty sure. And we all have testosterone. We're all, you know, little bags of chemicals that make us do things sometimes. And I think that if we brought that conscious and started understanding that there is enough for everybody
Yeah.
to live on and do okay, maybe not have your mansion on an island somewhere, but actually be able to take care of our children the way they deserve to be taken care of and should be taken care of if we want this planet to exist, or the humans on the planet to exist in the future.
Absolutely.
Duh. You know?
One of the things that I'd read recently actually said that it was something to the effect of like caring for the planet isn't hippie, that's survivalism. Like we only have this one planet, we have to take care of it because there's no other option. It's not hippie, it's survivalist.
And of course, there's the idiots, the richest idiots that want to pay for a passage to Mars or the moon or wherever and just let this planet go down. And
Yeah.
that's that mentality of acquisition and power through money and influence and everything that I have judged from my perspective of why can't we all just get along and share?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, and that behavior's wired into survival as well, and it's, founded on family systems again, like
Mhm.
my children are gonna have everything
Yeah.
instead of my children are gonna be given the tools to know how to go get what they want, and we're
Mhm.
gonna model humanitarianism, and we're gonna talk about taking care of everybody in our sphere, not in a family way so much, well, in a human family
Yeah.
way,
Yeah.
we should say.
We're all one.
Not just family, my kin, my blood, you know?
Everybody. Well, I read an
Eh,
article the other day, and it's crazy about some of the wealth in this country. But if Taylor Swift would split her money up, everybody would get like $3.2 million from how much money she has in the United States. And she's only one pop star. Think about the ultra rich and how many the Bill Gates and the Elon Musk. Their wealth is so enormous. And they sit around and say they want to help the poor, but they don't help the poor.
You know what though? It's easy, and I that's valid for sure, but it's easy to like point fingers and blame and have
I'm
all
not
this
blaming
anger.
them people.
But I think that the mentality that there is enough comes from just being in that mentality that there is enough, like not expecting anybody to do any change other than, you know,
I'm
not
just saying they could be
subscribing to
more
the idea.
generous,
Yeah, but they don't have to. That we just
but there's
have to
still enough.
there's still enough. Yeah, it's about subscribing to the idea in that your consciousness that there is enough for you, and that kind of ripple effect in our mental reality helps to change the world. It doesn't have to be money. As long as everybody
oops, you
has the
froze.
resources they need to live comfortably and live out their dreams, there's
Still
plenty for everybody,
frozen.
even for the ultra wealthy to stay ultra wealthy. We can all have a
Maybe
great life.
I'll
We can
respond a
all,
bit to
we just have
that.
to embody that idea.
Oh, there you are. I missed some things. You're telling me I can look at this online later and pick up what
Yeah,
I couldn't.
when we have it all edited and everything, this platform should be catching both of our sides of the recording. So we should be okay even though we're not catching each other.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, I think the whole idea of intentional community has always intrigued me. And the question is, what are the intentions, you know? And in my sexual healing work, it's all about intention, especially in couples,
Yeah.
because two people can have very different intentions about why they're in a relationship and what they want the relationship to be and those kinds of things. And to start breaking that down, is really helpful
Mhm.
for all of us. Like, why am I here? What are my intentions and how I live?
Yeah.
And what do I want to not necessarily accomplish, but take in and then share?
Mhm.
Accomplishment has been, again, all about making money.
Yeah.
And money is not a bad thing, it's just a tool.
Mhm.
But I've come to, and it's the way I live my life. I've had money and I've not had money, and I don't really experience any stress around not having money. I think of it as a game. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm living on $1,000 a month. Let's see how that works. I can do this. It's really fascinating, and it uses all your skills of like future pacing and troubleshooting, and you learn a lot that you can share with others.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know. I don't know why people, well, I do know why. It's media. It's brain programming from probably the World War I era, where they started wanting to know how to really manipulate people psychologically.
Mhm.
Freud helped boost that. And just being in a mental state of that survival thing again, and I deserve more than
Yeah.
other people think, that kind of stuff.
And there's so much I feel like around, when you look at thousands of years of evolution, trying to fit in with the crowd, to fit in with the tribe so that you're not isolated from everybody else. There's so much of that around this consumerism idea is I've got to fit in. I want everybody to like me. I need everybody to like me because I might not survive, even though that's not consciously what we're thinking. That's that subconscious programming that if we're isolated from the tribe, that we're not going to make it. And so there's such a strong drive to be part of the main culture.
Yeah, I have a subscription to the New York Times, and I had to shut it off for a while, but I'm back on there trying to, manage my own states with what's happening in the world and my response to them. But that idea of racism is an unconscious way that we label people. But as a white woman, I was raised in the pioneering spirit. We're going to go and we're going to take this plot of land and we're going to work hard and all that. And coming out of the slavery era, right? Just not that far back.
Mhm.
You think about how we determine who's us and who's them. And that's one of the biggest things right now that hurts my heart so much, is that we are not getting into places where we can work through the pain and suffering of enslavement, and the other side of that, the guilt and shame of having come from a lineage that
Mhm.
enslaved.
Yeah.
Um, and it's so important. It's the most important conversation I think we can have, and yet it is a very hardwired survival instinct to sort based on appearance, right?
So tell us a little bit more about what you actively do and then maybe some other projects you've got coming up. I think you mentioned you have a writing project coming up.
And how, if people wanted to,
Oh,
how
can
would they
find
connect
you.
with you to be able to meet with you?
Oh, well, my websites are a mess right now. I've been going through issues with my eyeballs. I had a cataract surgery this year. I've had retinal issues. So I've had retinal surgery on this eye. And I just can't spend a lot of time online if I'm like trying to do things like,
Mhm.
I mean, I've got all the glasses. I have 400 pairs of these. Yeah, my readers, but my distance vision was greatly improved when they took the cataract off and put a lens in for distance.
Mhm.
It's just old age. I'm 73. I've lived a life that was not exactly comfortable and people taking care of me. And so it's been a journey to really want to plan. I mean, I thought I'd be dead at 30. I don't expect to live day to day, basically. And I welcome death. I'm not a fan of this place. It's a dualistic world. It's bizarre. It's hard. It's just hard. And so I've
You don't
rounded
want to live
off.
to be 100.
I probably will. I
Mhm.
just reset. I was gonna do myself in at 80. Have you ever seen the movie Harold and Maude? It's a
Um,
kind of a cult classic.
mm,
Uh, an old woman from actually survived the Holocaust meets a young man who's 26, who's spoiled, rotten, and rich, and they have an affair. And Maud hits her 80th birthday and does herself in. She takes pills. And that was my goal, was to get to 80 and then kill myself on my 80th birthday.
That's coming
And
too
it may
fast,
still
I
be
would
my
say
goal.
right
I don't
now.
know. I mean, day to day, I've
You
been
have still more to
suicidal since
do.
I was 8 years old. I was relieved when the concept landed because I was in such a messed up family and not liking, my life. So
Hmm.
it's day to day, but I just reset. I want to live to 92 because there's a third Saturn return. I don't know if y'all are astrologers, but I love both of my Saturn return phases were really powerful phases. It happens every 30 years, so
Hmm.
90. So I don't know. I mean, I guess what I value is love and compassion and healing and kindness and it's a hard world for lovers to be in.
Hmm. I think, and I don't want to tell you how to live, but I just have to not pay attention to the news. I can't. I don't. I don't read any news articles. I just live in my happy little life, and when I just engage with people in my day-to-day life and be in the love that people have in their interconnectedness, I
Mhm.
the world is so much prettier. It is so much. I do not like. I just learned yesterday that there was a fire on the North Rim, mostly because it became so wild that it took out everything, that everybody was talking about it. And that's the only time I ever hear about what's going on in the world, is when everybody starts talking about events. So I don't know about the day-to-day things that are going on. I was for a while. I Especially around the election, I was in it. I was in the conversations. And I just can't. I noticed that my stress was just getting way up there. My anxiety was, I can't do anything to change any of it except be as happy as that I can be. And the happiest I can be is not paying
Yeah.
attention to what's going on in the media. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree, but it's so compelling at my age, especially. I mean, I would never have guessed I would be witness to the collapse of democracy in America,
Hmm.
which seems to be what's happening,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
how
Crazy.
this relates to reincarnation and larger patterns of karmas for countries and ethnic groups and that those labeling aspects again and the ways that we've interacted in violent ways. I
Hmm.
mean, I'm for peace. I want peace.
Yeah.
And so to understand why people are violent and territorial takes understanding them as well. So
Yeah.
it's like it's that dualistic nature again. We have to know it all to help move it into a place of healing. We
Yeah.
have to look at the shadow. It's a shadow.
Yeah.
We gotta look
Yeah,
at
that's true. Ignoring the shadow doesn't make it go away. That's true.
no. But we all are doing I mean, I have to do retreats and I've always loved the news. I don't know why. I mean, I had a year in DC with my second husband and we got the Post, the Washington Post at our door every morning.
Hmm.
And that was our thing. We'd get up early so we could read the paper in bed, over coffee. And it was really pretty compelling to watch people's behaviors and in that political realm.
Hmm.
This was Clinton's first term. Is that right? 92? Think so. Yeah, interesting stuff going on,
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's that compulsion I have to study human behavior.
Hmm.
I just and so I can understand it enough. Like I was just talking to a new friend who has he's such a lovely man. His name's Jamal Skinner, and he has a nonprofit called, I may mess this up, Community Enrichment Center. He's helping Black kids, basically, kids of color, overcome the things that happen to them in the imprints from our culture and society and judgments. This is a very white place I'm living in. And I was in Austin, for like 30 years off and on. And now when I see somebody of color on the street, I want to pull over and jump out of the car and go give them a hug, I'm like, oh, but that would be inappropriate, I think. But it's such a white place. And we had a great conversation about what that means to the people of color that live here. And there's been, I mean, all over this country, there was the Jim Crow era. It was very intentional on the part of white supremacy, white patriarchy, and so that kind of stuff is what I like to dig into.
Mm.
Like, what are these historical and generational patterns that are moving in a much larger way than our individual karma,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And how do we heal those larger patterns
hmm
and stop damaging children,
Yeah.
causing trauma? Like, think of the children in Gaza.
Mhm.
If they survive being children in Gaza, how are they going to feel toward their neighbor? Like that kind of stuff is big, which is where I like, that's my favorite place to develop theories. I mean, I wouldn't attempt to try to figure out my family. Actually, I do. But it's a ongoing fascination and compulsion I have
Mhm.
to kind of understand all these patterns and how they're perpetuating themselves.
Mhm.
And what stops it is always love and compassion and healing and concern for the beloved other,
Yeah,
whoever is in front of you, the beloved other.
absolutely.
What we've done in the criminal justice system in this country is horrific.
Absolutely.
Horrific. And to take kids that have made their first mistake and stick them in a prison and, I mean, I've got files labeled all my pet peeves, like drug law reform, criminal justice reform, abortion rights, all of these things I've accumulated. Like, I clipped articles starting in the 80s, I guess, and watched all this evolve.
Yeah.
And as long as we are trying to harm instead of heal,
Mhm.
these patterns are going to go on.
One of the thing that I think is interesting and funny about the way our society cycles essentially is what we focus on grows. And so that we focus on something and then we make it so much worse than it was when we first decided it might be a problem. It's just it's insane. Really. And we just keep doing it over and over and over again.
Yeah, but the practice of focus is also the practice of mindfulness.
Mhm.
And in my brain, I want to understand the cause behind the effects.
Mhm.
And to do that, you have to kind of walk in. Like I was telling Jamal, my daddy, I mentioned already, was a horrible racist. Well, he became a son of the Confederacy.
Mhm.
And I was in my 30s, and we didn't have much we could talk about without arguing because I'd call him out all the time. And the Vietnam War and all, I mean, that era, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like All in the Family, if you ever watched that. My dad thought Archie Bunker was a reasonable man, you know? And so it was a place we could meet. Like, I joined the United Daughters of the Confederacy in Austin. And Jamal was like, "Tell me again why you did that." 'Cause I mentioned it a couple of times. I'm like, it was the only place my daddy and I could sit down, look at our genealogy, which he created before the internet. You had to go driving off to take pictures of gravestones, basically,
Yeah.
and
Wow.
had Confederate ancestors, which he was very proud of. And I think he found one Yankee in the lineage, and we never spoke of it again. It's like that pride of, they came and they persecuted us and they oppressed us and we lost the war, but we fought hard. Your people fought hard for their way of life. And I don't know that we ever owned. Yeah, there is a document. There's a will in I think it's the 1600s, of an ancestor passing the ownership of two people to his daughter.
Wow.
And so my take at that was a shame. And whoa, like, where do we go to hide? Like, we should really be ashamed of that. Well, he was proud of it.
Mhm.
And, I've got cousins that got involved with it and loved it. But I wanted to join the United Daughters of the Confederacy to understand the mentality of the old women there because some of them had grandparents that had come home from the war. This was in the 80s. And they still remembered those stories and they would tell them. And I learned about a genteel type of racism that I had not ever been exposed to because my daddy didn't own slaves. He missed it, darn it. But it's just me wanting to learn about how we oppress each other and how we damage each other by that oppression. I mean, women are oppressed,
Yeah.
all women.
Mhm.
There's things that come up every day around misogyny and lack of access and lack of pay. And being a mother is not an easy thing, and it should be a paid job.
Right.
I love some of the structures in place around social support in Norwegian countries. And, some people figured it out. It's a village
Yeah.
model. It should always be a village model.
Mhm.
But now we're all isolated in our own little cubby holes and exposed to all of this crap that tells us we should be fighting.
Mhm.
We should not be going next door to check on the neighbors. They might have a gun, like all this fear pumped all the time about who we are in our differences when really we're so much more alike than different. We all want justice, peace, love, hope, safety, all of that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You're exactly right. You're exactly right.
I don't know if I'm right, but that's what I figure out in my head, which makes me feel better, like maybe we can talk about this enough that people go, "Oh, yeah. Uh, I think it would be better if we all loved each other." You
Well,
know?
that's hopefully what, Together We Rise, the book will produce,
Yeah.
really.
Start that
More
ripple.
healing and more love for the world
And
and for each other.
because I think that because I think you've been dabbling and talking about that a lot as a theme in this conversation is a lot of the healing is not just what happened to us, but the programming from our parents. Like I mean, I
There
do
went
not
the
see the world the
freezing
same way
thing.
my dad does, but I used to. And it's taken me a lot to see the world through my own
I'm
eyes,
gonna
through my own
move.
experiences. And I feel like you've had a lot of the same thing. So a lot of healing, I think, is reprogramming ourselves to start seeing the world just in the light we see, that there's more similarities between all of us than there are differences. There's a lot we all want the same thing. We all wanna be successful and safe and have full bellies and love each other. And I think you're exactly right at beginning to heal those past damages and get over, um, who we were taught that we're supposed to be and the ways we're taught we're supposed to think and start seeing the world through the eyes of what you just described. Absolutely.
Well said.
I love it. So, the project you're working on.
Oh, this, my family had sexual perpetrators, pedophiles on both sides, my mother's and my dad's. I don't know much about my dad's at all.
Mhm.
And they're only guesses, but my mother's lineage was exposed due to a murder suicide that happened to my second cousin, who was, let's see, my mother's brother was her grandfather.
Okay.
On her father's side, she was brutally raped at the age of 4. Um, the man made the boys, the cousins, watch. This was in New York. They were Italian
Mhm.
and first generation. And I can have empathy for the women in the household because they spoke only Italian. Their breadwinner was the man doing the raping, and he got all the girls. And she had had flashbacks. She didn't know any of this, but she would talk to me. Marlene was her name, and Michael was her son. So she remembered being under a table, like a big, large dining table with a lace cloth to the floor and people looking at her and blood being everywhere. She was 4 years old when it happened. and this man got her half sisters, but it was exposed at a family gathering I think it was Christmas, and the boys started talking, and the girls were so young, he'd get them around 4. So fast forward, Marlene is 38 years old. She lives in Austin. She's a welfare mom. She has a son who's 9, Michael, and she had confronted me, like, when I first got back from DC in the 90s. She wanted to tell me that sometimes she felt weird around Michael, and I'm like, "What are you talking about?" You're his mother. Why do you feel weird? She said, "Well, when he's in the bathtub, I want to mess with him." And I'm like eliciting more information. And I said, "Okay, you need therapy." And we didn't know any about what had happened to her until after they were dead. I didn't. And so she did tell me she went to therapy, but I kind of doubted it because she was talking about a male therapist. And I'd specifically told her, you need a female therapist so you'll feel safer. And it just evolved. Like, she got more reclusive. The work I'm doing now in my writing is the story of her sort of breaking down and me watching it happen and not knowing how to stop it. And I believe she was molesting Michael when they died. So she wrote a suicide note on January 13th of 97. They were in Austin, and their bodies weren't found for 3 weeks. So February 3rd is what I call her death day, their death day. But she used a knife, and it was horrific. The people that found the bodies, I just still wonder how they are. I'd gone back and interviewed the detective that worked on the case. They thought it was a homicide at first because it was so bizarre. The people that found the bodies were maintenance people at the apartment complex. She was a welfare mom. They'd been trying to get in to do a check. And they put a ladder up to the second story, her bedroom window, and flies hit the screen, and they went in, and they'll never be the same based on what they saw.
Yeah.
So the minute I learned about it, which was on the television, I went into this mode of trying to understand what happened. And I talked to the detective. I met with him. I had to prove that I was related. I was listed as next of kin on their apartment lease. And it was just an odyssey. And it was something that came out of the blue. Like, she kind of distanced me from Michael about 18 months before it happened, and was not responding to me at the door or phone calls or anything. But going through that helped me understand the patterning again of pedophiles or perpetrators in family systems, and how they are often, I don't think the women in the family would think of them protecting the perpetrator, but they were trying to prevent their behavior without disclosing to the world
Yeah.
this was going on. So that brings up the topic of toxic secrecy, which is an aspect of complex PTSD from childhood. I was a very aware and intuitive child, and I knew that when Uncle Bobby came around drunk, he was going to try to get me on his lap. And I learned how to see if his keys were by the door, where he'd always drop them when I came in the front door. And I'd go right back out the door if his keys were there. Like, I was hyper tuned to perpetration in my system, which started in the crib. So these families, and you'd like to think it's rare that there's these perpetrators in family systems, but there's nearly always one. And often they're the alcoholic, and they can black out and not even know what they're doing. And they're wounded too.
Yeah.
That's the thing about healing. we can't just lock the perpetrator up, put him in solitaire or whatever. And that's why I've never become a licensed psychotherapist. I've wanted to work with perpetrators in my healing practice. I worked in a federal prison for 8 years in Texas, and I met a lot of sexual perpetrators. And once they got to trust me in our class, they would sometimes sidle up to me and start talking about what they did.
Mhm.
And my experience of that was, and my need at that moment was to give them love, to look in their eyes, to just hold their story, to listen to
Mm.
what they had done. And yet I couldn't really grant forgiveness. I wasn't involved. I didn't know how to help really, except try to help them understand that they were once a child too that was likely damaged.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a common story. It's not, across the board, anybody that molests was molested. But now we're like exposing children to hardcore pornography. This is a pornographic culture we're in.
Mhm.
And it gives young people all kinds of screwed up messages about what sex is and how you should be in relationship. And, that's a bigger picture in the sexual healing realm. Wow. So
Yeah.
ask
Yeah.
a question. It's a tangent there. I'm sorry. I did it.
No, it's great. I think that anybody who that message will speak to, you going through it, that's going to, I mean, can't wait for the project. Really, can't wait. So you're writing a book about your experience and your investigation and all the things you've learned and found out.
Mhm. And it probably inspired my entry into sexual healing. I went to a tantric workshop in Boulder
Mhm.
in 2000. And the man who came from California, Robert Fry, he was the most precious man and teacher, facilitator of Tantra. And I followed him around like a puppy dog, trying to learn everything I could. I had a Kundalini awakening experience with him by facilitating sacred space. Inside the vagina, there is the back of the nerve endings that are a sacred spot in how we hold our emotional content around our sexuality.
Mhm.
So I asked for him to facilitate that for me. And I had a Kundalini awakening. I had an inner experience of lineages gathering, ancestral as well as temple culture, way back, Egyptian, and they claimed me. It was a profound experience. And that happened in May. I opened my practice in June,
Wow.
and I've never looked back. That
Yeah.
was 2000. And it's changed a lot in a lot of ways. I feel like, you look back, you go, why did I think prostitution was a good idea when I
Mhm.
was in my 20s? Well, it helped me really clearly understand the difference between sex for money and sexual healing.
Mhm.
And there was a lot of confusion in the community, the sexual healing community, about that.
Yeah.
Right. Because it's kind of a gimmick too.
Yeah.
You can say, "Yeah, I'm a healer," hang up a shield, a sign, and I'm a DACA. We had several men do that, and there were some incidences. And so it's interesting how sex is like core to who we are. It's not just, "Oh, that's a little part of my life over here." We get here through a sexual act, mostly. We have hormones that are imperatives about perpetuating the species. It's not, "Oh, we'll turn this on and then turn it off," or maybe you don't even want to turn this on, which is kind of what's happening in some of our gender stuff right now. And yet, we don't get education about it. We were separated from the boys and told about our periods in 5th grade. And I mean, you're not given relationship skills. You're not given consent information. You don't. I mean, a kid, a 13-year-old doesn't know what rape is, or how to navigate somebody trying to hurt you or push your limits, all that. I mean, there's so much work to do in this realm. It's so important. It's core.
Thanks for tuning in to Kerouacs Cruising.
We're thrilled to have you with us.
We had a blast recording this episode and hope you enjoyed our adventures as much as we enjoyed sharing them.
For more amazing pictures and stories, visit our website and blog at kerouacscruising.com.
And join the conversation on Facebook at Kerouacs Cruising or email us at join@kerouacscruising.com.
We'd love to hear your thoughts and suggestions.
If you enjoyed this episode, please consider liking, subscribing, and leaving us a review.
Your support helps us reach more listeners and allows us to continue sharing our travel experiences with you.
It's a generous favor that means the world to us.
Thank you so much for listening to Kerouacs Cruising.
Until next time, happy travels.